And we're live. Everyone in the world is picking on this dude. Like the UFC world all hates Tim Kennedy. He's one of my favorites. I think you're all wrong about him. You know, I think he's hilarious. I think that he's clean. I think that he's everything I want in a fighter. And you guys all hate him, but I think you're wrong. And
yeah, it's fun to be contrarian on the internet. Like if all of them hated Bernie, I'd be first in line. Like, yeah, fucking Bernie. Like, just
dude, politics has gotten cool lately. So, like Bernie Sanders was a wacko left wing, whatever, a couple months ago, and while his positions haven't changed, in my exposure, his odds have. Like it really seems like he might win Iowa, and he's definitely going to win New Hampshire. And headed into South Carolina, they might look at him, and that's the this is the Iowa caucuses, which is a weird way of voting I barely understand. Then there's the New Hampshire primaries where they vote, and then South Carolina where Hillary has a big lead. Well, people might look at Bernie in an entirely different way if he wins the first two states, and it seems really possible. So,
yeah, it's shaping up to be a real disaster of a political year. Like these four candidates, it's basically four. I feel like that are left hanging around, right?
Some might say five. I would say in the Republican side, obviously Trump, and then I don't know if your other one in your head was Cruz or Rubio, but
it's Cruz.
Okay,
but I guess you're right. Probably should include them both. I can't imagine them not giving Trump the nomination at this point. Can you? Like how can they not?
I don't know. I feel like I'm not the expert I'd like to be, but I keep hearing that these pre-primary polls are notoriously inaccurate. And then you take that and you line it up with the history that I remember. Like, who's the guy who went like after he lost? He got third place. Herb Dean. Yeah. Herb Dean was Howard Dean. He was leading in the polls headed into, I think that was Iowa.
Going to North Dakota and South Dakota. Yeah!
They made such a big deal out of that. That bothers me too, because it turns into this who's the coolest contest when it should really be about ideas and spirit and integrity and stuff. But, he was supposed to win that state and he got third. And that's just testament to what the polls, how bad they can be before these primary elections.
Have you noticed that every picture of Bernie Sanders speaking, like all the action shots everywhere online, every picture of him in like the dramatic speech pose, like Trump actually looks, intense when he's doing it. Bernie, you could Photoshop a sandwich board that says the end is nigh on him, and it would look totally natural. That frizzy, crazy hair, those big eyes, and his fingers always pointed at you. Like just
someone has got to introduce that guy to some product. Right? Like his hair is never in place. Like he gets fired up and it's just all right. I guess I'll try and show this. I think our pictures will be
it's not. You think Trump could give him some pointers?
No, he's not the guy I'd hire for that task.
Trump hands him a CAD file. He's like, how do I even open this?
Bernie Sanders always looks concerned that one of his caretakers is going to catch him and bring him back to the assisted living facility. Like just looking out the corners of his eye, he looks like a maniac.
In that photo you just sent, it looks like the old they're at the old home and the nurse just asked who wanted more pudding.
Dude, yeah, that's what it looks like, or who just shit themselves.
Outside of the second and third best Republicans, Cruz and Rubio, you've got Hillary, who I think would be 69 when she takes office, maybe 70. You've got Trump, who would be 70 when he takes office. That I happen to know. And Bernie, who would be 74 when he takes office. Everybody, every serious candidate, it seems, is eligible for Social Security.
Yeah.
They're genuinely senior citizens.
That would be a good way. That would be a good way to like start a talking point. I feel like for one of these candidates to be like, all of us here are eligible for Social Security, but it's not worth it anymore, is it? Just kind of like flow into it like that.
I don't know. I look at they've been showing on Reddit a lot, like his first State of the Union versus his current one. Presidency not even once, which is horseshit.
True. Come on. Dude, it hollows those men out like a log every time.
I mean, certainly when you look at Lincoln, I feel like he aged more than 8 years during that 8 years. But I want to turn the mirror on everyone fussing about his age, you know? Like, you were, what, 21 at the time? Like, I bet you looked very different at 21. Murka, what are you, 22 now?
I'll be 25 in a couple months.
Yeah, so you were 14? Like, did I not do that? 24
17.
minus 8?
16.
16 or 17, yeah.
Well, fuck. I'm not. Kyle would think I'm in. Did you see the gif of me, like,
Hey.
not getting 120 times 2.5 quickly?
Like the Goodwill
That was,
Hunting.
there was 96 times 2.5. I forget what it was, but I'm like, oh, what the fuck? But anyway, so what? You're 24 now. 8 years ago, you'd be 16. Yeah. Dude, I bet you looked wildly different at 16. Look at your beard.
I don't think he's a good example. We should use you as the example. And I think 8 years ago, I think you have aged far less in the last 8 years than Obama has.
I don't know. I look at pictures of me from like even 6 years ago when I first started YouTube and think that guy's a lot younger than me. You know, I have definitely aged in the last 6 years, and a lot of sometimes, you know, people will take pokes at me. But I think to myself, yeah, but 6 years ago, you were 13. You know, let's look at pictures of you from 13 to 19 and tell me that you haven't changed at all. So, you know, that's you know, like, I feel like people age more in these 8 years than they think. I saw this cartoon. There's a little boy sitting at a television at this it's cartoon, but it, you know, obviously beautiful woman on TV. And then it flashes to him in the next frame at 40, I'll make it up. Big beer gut, fat guy drinking a beer. And then she, of course, is like 60 now, all wrinkly. It's like, what the hell happened to her? Yeah, look at you. You know, like, people don't turn the mirror on themselves when they see other guys
got some
age.
fair criticisms as far as she goes, though. She could have lost a little more weight for that role. Like, Mark Hamill fucking got great shape.
This was just a cartoon anybody actress, but you're talking about Leia. Yeah.
I think that cartoon you saw was specifically about Leia. Like, because
I think it might have been.
She put it on her Twitter. I saw. She could have lost some more weight. And it was so obvious in every scene with her in it. That they were using some really soft focus or something to make her not look as badly as she looks, I guess. Meanwhile, you look at Mark Hamill a couple years prior to now, and he was really overweight, looked like shit. And you know, they said, "Hey, you want to be Luke Skywalker again?" And he was like, "Fuck yeah!" and got in great shape. And he doesn't even say a word in that movie. You know, he got in great shape to look like Luke Skywalker.
He did get in great shape for the film. I'm not sure. Did he get in great shape in time for the film, though? Because he looked much bigger to me in the movie than he did during, like, the press tour.
I don't feel like we see enough of him in the movie to even judge, to be completely honest. Right. But I'm just basing on what I've seen with him in the press tour. Because in the movie, you know, I mean, he's just hooded, cloaked. You get, like, you know, just his face. They could have CGI'd him onto anything. I mean, to be 100% honest, but that's what they should have done to Princess Leia. What's her name? Carrie Fisher.
Yeah.
They should have CGI'd her onto like a really sexy hot body.
Just like a bad crop on the neck.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Old lady skin.
I'm having a hard time finding the actual cartoon we were talking about, but
is this a Star Wars cartoon you're talking about?
No, it's not even Star Wars related on the surface. It's just a kid looking at a beautiful woman on TV and then seeing her 20 years later and saying what happened to her when obviously he fell apart during that same period of time. Yeah, so maybe Kyle will find it. But yeah, I looked at Obama and he aged whatever. I think it might be 7 years. I keep saying 8. But dude, we all did. Everybody did. Some age better than most, but he didn't seem that outrageous to me.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's just that he looked so young when he took office.
He really did.
And now the gray is out in
dominant.
force.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's so young when he took office and he had all this like youthful enthusiasm and such. There's no top candidates like that. You might argue Rubio, but I don't. Something about I worry about Rubio being for sale, right? Like all the accusations of him using like state money to buy his family stuff, him, you know, taking loans. I like a president to have a couple million just so they're not so easy to buy. You know, Rubio literally has to like you know, shop carefully for his children's genes. And, well, maybe that's good in some ways. In other ways, I feel like he's crooked. But
I feel like
I
once
don't
you
trust
become
any of them.
president, though, you're not on a budget anymore. Like, for the most part, you're going to get what you need.
most people don't become president for the money, and I think Rubio might. And I don't know, it just rubs me the wrong way.
He just wants the jet. That's all. Come on, baby. This is better than air miles. That doesn't seem like it. I don't know. This has been a really entertaining political cycle for sure thus far, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the conclusion because it's a bit like Game of Thrones. I really don't know who's going to win this thing, and each it seems like its own brand of ridiculous horror. Because I feel like Clinton is going to be a real mess. Like she may actually cause some gun rights issues.
Who is she in the equivalent in Game of
Oh,
Thrones?
she's the Lannisters for sure. She seems to be way ahead, despite the fact that she's hated everywhere. They've got tons of money, and her husband was in charge before her. She's totally a Lannister.
Oh, well done, Kyle.
That's well
yeah,
done.
I can. Agreed. Oh, that's
I think
perfect.
that Bernie Sanders is the Mad King. Aemon Targaryen.
He's the opposite, though. The Mad King was terrible to his people and evil-hearted, and Bernie Sanders is...
Replace torture with taxes.
Bernie Sanders is Meister Ewan from The Wall. He's
the Wizard of the Box.
Technically, he probably should be in charge by all rights, but for whatever reason, he's just too old now, and his ideas are just way too crazy. He's never going to get back into power. It's not going to happen. I want to know who Trump would be, though. I feel like...
Oh, Trump's an up-and-comer, but he's got a lot of power.
Yeah.
He's not
I feel
dead,
like
so he can't be Robb Stark. Unless he
maybe
drops
he's,
out again.
But yeah, in any case, you're probably not going to keep this thing going too well with it drawing the parallels.
I
between
feel
each
like we
political
can't match the
candidate,
Hillary
but-
parallel.
Yeah.
We just started too
it's not
high.
happen.
Yeah.
But I love that Trump is in this thing because I feel like while he is a ridiculous candidate, he just is. He's just ridiculous. He seems like more of an entertainer than anything. But that's why I like him, because he's out there being entertaining. I hope that he really fucks up the political process of the most powerful nation in the world this year, and I think he will.
He frustrates
And
me.
that's-
Like, I saw him running against Hillary, right? And he's like, Hillary can't possibly win. Just watch her. She's like, da 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 da. Who'd vote for that? I'm like, that's your fucking argument? Like, that was really what he did. Like, he just imitated her. And it wasn't a terrible imitation. Like, his facial expression gave me a Hillary vibe. And but he
He's
didn't
a
actually.
playground bully.
Yeah.
I love it.
He'll nana boo your ass on a political stage. Like
It's crazy. I haven't heard his plans, Well, I guess I have heard his like anti-immigration plans outside of tapping into like a national frustration with jobs and wealth or whatever. I don't hear him outlining what he'll do outside of we'll put really smart people in here and do great things.
So I'm sure we all saw his TV ad by now, and the two things that stood out to me are you haven't seen it.
I don't watch TV.
I don't either.
Well, they put it on the internet as well. I didn't see it on.
I don't have the
With
internet.
rabbit ears or anything. Okay, no internet.
I've never seen a Trump
guys.
ad.
It's his first TV ad. That's why it was kind of a big deal. But the two things he talks about are the Muslims and immigration. They're like he will build a wall and make Mexico pay for it. And that line's in there, and the keeping Muslims out of the country thing is in there. They pushed both of those things really big in like this 30-second ad. They caught some flack because when they talk about immigration, they show lots of people fleeing toward a border and crossing illegally, but that's footage from Morocco. But I mean, does it really matter? Like it's more of it's more to get a message across than to be like, here are actual Mexicans. You just need some brown people running for a fence. That's what he wanted to show you. If you'd hired actors, you wouldn't have been so mad.
Mm-hmm. I think it's fine. It's not like you're like, oh, you didn't even have footage for it? How do we know it's happening? It's like, yeah, it's happening.
Well,
but
he's overstating it, right? Like he does like,
If
look
it were
at
a
these
gun
immigrants
violence
coming
ad,
in, and then they show like running with the bulls,
But they actually were immigrants running toward a border in Morocco. I don't think that's a big deal, because if you were making an anti-gun advert and you showed a person who was a victim of gun violence in Sweden, it still applies here, regardless. You're because at the root you're saying, hey, gun violence is bad, and with his commercial you're saying, hey, illegal immigration is bad. So I had no problem with it being Moroccans or people running toward a Moroccan border. I don't know which, but they said it was from Morocco.
Slippery
I thought
slope.
his TV ad was good, and it definitely plays to his base, which is the people who are you took our gerbs kind of folk. And I feel like that's why he's not the typical candidate that might dissolve after a few weeks, a few months, might lose his support, because his supporters are locked in with him because he's the only one spouting their message, and they're digging it.
The
Not
Republican
even
race
his
in
message
particular.
as much is like I feel like his entire popularity is almost like a backlash of a certain group, a pretty big group of people who lean conservative, who are just tired of all the little word policing and nitpicky nonsense that people get involved in with it. And even though a lot of the stuff he says is batshit crazy and not feasible, it's like, all right, well, at least I can trust this guy on a level of, like, he's not pulling any punches and he's not in anybody's pocket for the most part.
Straightforward.
The PC thing is really turned off. The liberals have gone too far left, and it's particularly the young ones. The Yale girl that screamed that she was supposed to have a safe space at college. I can hardly express how much I hate that chick. Right? She is a worthless piece of shit. She's at Yale, for fuck's sake, complaining about not being safe enough. I keep pointing to the Steinway grand piano in the lobby of her dorm and saying that she doesn't have a safe. Like, what kind of overwhelming censorship do you need before you feel safe? You're afraid someone's going to wear an offensive Halloween costume? Go fucking jump on a knife. I'm done with her. That kind of, like, the South Park PC ridiculing, where they use their being offended to bully other people, right? The cry bully is the term I see a lot. Way too far, guys. Way too far. Please keep this in the realm of the reasonable. And the conservatives make the same mistake, but I didn't feel like the liberal side did this 10 years ago. Whereas now it seems to be an accurate representation of at least young liberals.
It seems like it's accelerated quickly, even from like my brother, who's high school age. Like the shit, he'll even tell me stuff about like, oh yeah, we had a like conference today about, you know, rape culture or something, and it's like, what? Like I'm 8 years older than you, and this was not happening when I was there.
I don't like the rape culture thing. Like so here's the deal. Is there rape? Yes. That's a thing. And it's terrible and it's awful. And I get that. But to say we have a rape culture, like there are other cultures, the Middle East, if I have my facts right, has something of a rape culture where, a guy rapes a woman and the woman is held responsible for it. She's the one being stoned to death for adultery, even though she's a victim of rape. That's a rape culture, and it's a problem. In America, nobody celebrates rapists. Nobody looks the other way on a rape charge. No one says like, "Oh, did you rape her?" Sweet dude. Like, no,
it's considered worse than murder.
Unless the rapist is a woman, of course.
Okay. But in terms of guys, and that's all they're focused on, right? They're trying to make sure that guys know it's not okay to rape, because they act as if there was some kind of gray area on that, as if guys thought, is rape cool? Is that like getting laid, crushing pussy? Is that what rape is? No, dude. And no one thinks that. And it's not a problem in our society. There's no encouragement. When we find rapists, we lock them up for a long time. That's what we do with them. And the other people in prison look at them as if they're the lowest kind of prisoners. There's no rape culture. It's not celebrated. It's not okay. So back the fuck off on your victim crybaby bullshit.
I need you to give definitive consent right here. You just sign that it's okay for me to pound your puss.
That's South Park reference for those who didn't get it. But anyway, crush your pussy, I think. It was yeah, because PC stands for pussy crusty. Pussy crushing. But anyway, yeah. So the rape culture thing, no. There are places with the rape culture problem. Yeah. America's not one of them. We hate rapists here.
Prison. There's another one with that problem. Like a real culture of that.
Yeah. No one's speaking up for those poor guys in there, like the accountant who's getting raped every day by some dude in prison. No one's crying out for his pain. It's
Very few.
I hate the political climate, the current politically correct climate. Like, you don't see it as much like where I am. I feel like if I had to interact with, like, let's say an office environment somewhere, like, I might feel it more. But you know, generally when I'm interacting with people, they're just kind of scoff at that sort of thing, laugh at it, and then drop a slur.
That's it. So every so
That's
often
how it
I'll
is when I go to
travel
my
in.
grandparents' house.
Yeah.
Every so often I'll travel in like I'll go to a gun show or something, and they're just like, "Fuck Obama,
yeah.
right?" Yeah, and it's like, I need a safe space.
Yeah.
Oh, beat
Yeah.
me to it, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jinx. Jinx. You gotta buy me a box of ammo now.
Yeah. It's I don't know. Politically, I fit in a space where I mostly feel alone. You know, like
The backlash is coming primarily from people. I think the whole like word policing thing of like most people aren't bad people. Like if they say an off-color joke or they say something shitty, like, you know, most people are smart enough to figure out what's said in jest and what is said maliciously with the intent of hurting someone. And most people are just tired of, like, by default being like, oh no, you're a malicious piece of shit. You know what you did. You were thinking about it the whole time, taking advantage of us, oppressing people. My God. When really it's like, no, I was just joking around. I was just saying something. It's not offensive. Quit taking offense on behalf of others and ascribing all responsibility to me while just patting your little pet minorities on the head.
quit
So you can feel
loving
better about yourself.
being offended. Right? Like, oh, he offended me. Fucking sweet. Now I'm in a position of power. Hey, Taylor, I'm gonna fucking extract an apology from you. You offended me. What are you gonna do about that, huh? I'm sitting here. I remain offended until you lay it out there for me. You know, let me know
Sorry,
how.
did I trigger you? Did I trigger you, Woody?
Yeah, and
Sorry.
Civ 5. That's my trigger.
But politics, it's going to get real interesting in the next 2 weeks. They're going to start voting. Leads start to matter a little more. Like, you know, if you go back 4 years, that Herman Cain's on top. Who's that Texas governor guy? Rick Perry was on top. You know, the Republican side in particular seems to try out different candidates with the lead.
It's like a revolving door of people over
Very
there. Just
bandwagon.
constantly throwing new ones out there.
Yeah, whereas the Democrats tend to be, I want to say, more stable. I mean, obviously, if you go back 8 years, the Obama-Hillary thing wasn't that stable. But, you know, I don't know. It's not like they've got 6 guys who hold the lead at any given point, whereas the Republicans, they tend to try people out, not like them, and then try someone else out.
I saw that Biden said he regretted staying out of the race now.
He did.
You know, that was my pick months and months ago. I was I was saying that Biden was going to be our next president before his son died.
No way he would beat Hillary.
I don't know. I liked Biden the most. The thing is, I like a lot of people, and then once they're exposed to the harsh spotlight of first place, sometimes I like them less. I think that happens on the Republican side a ton. You know, Biden to me is my favorite guy. I wish he was in the race, or O'Malley. I like him a lot. But these are all people that didn't get like first placed hate. You know,
he's got the military record. Is that correct, O'Malley?
I don't know.
I know Jim Webb the Democrat who's in third place? Oh, I just remember one of the debates. I thought he was the third Democrat. I thought that was the guy who had the military.
Third Democrat. I just think of Jim Webb as the Democrat military guy. I don't know if O'Malley is too.
I'm thinking of a debate I saw a couple of months back or something like that. He looked very military. Like he was kind of fucking still standing at attention over there with a big square head, like just.
Yeah, all this to me
Still
screams
looks a little
Jim
shell-shocked.
Webb. Yeah,
Nom
Jim
or
Webb.
3
Yeah, he's shell-shocked, uncomfortable. Yeah.
I like when ex-military politicians like start talking about. Obviously, they want to push that as one of their qualifications when they're on stage, and they start talking about what they do to the enemy, and they kind of do a thing where they're like, "Oh, you don't even want to know what I do. It's so bad." You ever been to Nam, boy? Like, you just know he's ready to like snap and start telling you about crawling through rat holes with a knife in his teeth and a 1911 in his other hand.
You know what ISIS does to goats? That's what I do to ISIS.
Aha, rape.
That's the culture.
Yep.
So yeah, I still don't know. I guess Clinton. You know, if I'm a betting man, I would go Clinton, and then I would say the second most likely. Who's second most likely? Do you think? Would you say?
You're talking about Trump versus Bernie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trump versus Bernie, or perhaps a Cruz or someone
I think
like that.
Trump. I don't know what it's gonna be, and I know nothing has stumped him so far, but I think eventually something will take traction. He'll say the wrong thing. Something will come from his history. He just
Can't be stumped.
can't be
Nothing
stumped. I
can
mean,
stop
and thus far, you're right. But gosh, I just can't imagine a world where like he just keeps getting away with it.
You can only be
in a
stumped if you
standard-
get caught in a lie like that. Like
He
when
always
the
gets
regular-
caught in
no,
lies.
No. Yeah, but he plays it off. Like it's other politicians will be like, "I did not do that," and they'll be like, "Well, we have evidence right here that you did," and they'll be like, "Well, when I was doing that, I was thinking of foreign policy." And the thing about foreign policy is, and it's like they misdirect it. With Trump, they'll be like, "You said this about Mexicans." Like, I never said that. I would never say that. He's like, "You said right here, I really, really hate those Mexicans." And he's like, "Well, when you're wrong, you're wrong. You got me. Like, you know how I feel, and I've made it clear." It's like he's not stumped.
You walk away not sure if he still hates the Mexicans
Yeah.
or not.
It's like, what? He played into it so much. I can't tell if he was being serious. Like,
At some
it's great.
point, Trump is gonna be like, ISIL. I'd fucking stop him from screaming, and that's gonna like be in his attack ads against him and stuff, and Trump
I'd love
with the
to see that.
extra contrast making the scream, and something is gonna get him.
He'll immediately win like Kentucky, Tennessee, Missouri.
Dude,
He
I'd
needs
win
to go
that on the
pro
Republican
gun right
ticket.
away. They need to get him out on a gun range somewhere, shooting some like heavy machine. Like I think if you had some video of him shooting a machine gun or something, I think that would play to a lot of his
Stogie.
base. Yeah, Stogie. Yeah, get out there with some other politician who's kind of like smeared between the lines. Get Schwarzenegger out there. That's what he should do. He should get Schwarzenegger on his team. That would do the trick.
That's actually a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. He could
I'd
pay
watch
his way into the Expendables 4.
Oh shit. Yeah. I would watch that. I would watch Expendables 4 if it had Donald Trump in it.
Trump has
I really
He
been
was
on
the villain.
several WWE shows. I think even somewhat
I
recently.
love that.
I know.
I'm sure we've all seen the gif of him taking Vince McMahon out with like he runs in, like kind of clotheslines him, takes him to the ground, puts a few like pop knots on the side of his head, a couple of these, and then gets up and walks away. Like, yeah, that's what happens when you mess with the Trump. And just kind of walks out.
And I think the guy was over like 68 in that clip. Like it looks pretty current.
He came in there, he committed. He took him down to the mat, got on top of him, little fake ass ground and pound. It was great. It came off really good. I'd love to see him do that on like the political stage. Like if he really lost at a debate, he just tackles his opponent and beats him up.
Dude, I'm looking at like Trump WWE. There's so much WWE footage of Trump. I can't find the right one.
He's
Good.
shameless.
No other candidate has that in his repertoire.
No. I can't find the right one. Like he's just there fighting with people all the time. Shaved Vince McMahon's head. I didn't know he shaved Vince McMahon.
Oh, that's great. How humiliating.
Imagine if Bernie tried to do that. He'd just explode into dust like that guy in the Ark of the Covenant.
I think everyone makes
Face
fun of
someone.
Bernie's like messed up hair. I'd love to see him in a Trump wig, just like an over the top, big, huge Trump wig. Be fantastic.
That'd be
I think like we should probably close down political talk, but I will say that whatever happens in the Iowa caucuses and the New Hampshire primary or whatever the fuck, if he not only beats her but beats her badly, and you start seeing the numbers slip on the national polls a little bit, a point or two, he could win South Carolina. This is gonna be cool to see. I hate her so much that I'm okay with her with anything that makes her crash
anything
and burn.
but her.
I feel like there are a number of Republicans in the center who would be swayed to vote for Bernie, but I have yet to ever meet a Republican in my entire life, and I'm exposed to a lot of people who say, yeah, you know what, maybe Hillary. I think I could go Hillary. Trump or Hillary, one of those two. No.
Yeah.
No one switches for Hillary. Zero.
No, she's very
Very
unlikable.
polarizing.
Yeah. They talk about what a manufactured candidate she is, right? And by that they mean, and I guess it happens with politics, even happens with YouTube a little, where you sit there and you know that your words are going to be parsed and like used against you. Everything you say and do is being recorded and analyzed, right? And some of the times politicians react to that by just being so disingenuous. You know,
In the middle of the road and just vanilla.
They asked
and never
Hillary
giving
Clinton
definitive answers.
what her favorite ice cream flavor was, and she's like, "Oh, favorite? You know, I just like them all so much."
Cosmopolitan?
Yeah, fuck you. You like all the ice cream flavors. Jesus fucking Christ, you unlikable cunt. Can you?
What's your favorite ice cream?
If I,
Yeah,
you know,
what
it
they think She
changes.
was gonna say something just like an offensive ice cream.
Right?
I like gookberry. Like,
Okay, Rocky Road. I like Rocky Road a lot.
no, that's a flavor. Like,
Right.
I like
Cherry
tart baby
Garcia.
chocolate.
I'll pick Rocky Road. It's fine. Some of the s'mores ones I've been into lately, the little delicious bites of marshmallows stuck in there. I think it's cool. But mint chocolate chip, if you wanted me to do a classic that I'll still like
Red
10
velvet-
years from now.
Red velvet cake from Ben & Jerry's.
I would like to try that. I've heard it's incredible. I don't
good.
think I've had it. But yeah, that's the one. Al Gore, when he ran, you guys were probably young, but he was just so stiff and wooden, and I can kind of see how that happens to a guy when he knows that everything he says and does is being dissected and used against him. He kind of freezes up and, you know, doesn't give you much to work with. Now he's like hilarious. He's cracking jokes. He yells during TED Talks from the audience, and they're like, if that was you during the campaign, you'd be president. Hillary, I don't know if she'll look any better after this campaign, but she's just hard to like.
She's just no redeeming qualities in my opinion.
You see her on Ellen DeGeneres doing the nana? Is that what she was doing?
the nay.
The nana, yeah.
No, she
My-
was doing the dab.
The
It was
dab,
the
yeah,
dab. She was learning to do the dab. I didn't see it, but I heard Stern mock it, and so that gave me a good enough mental picture.
Such
to
a
know.
lack of like self-confidence. Such a like, dude, you fucking dance. You know, you're on there, rock it, bitch. She's
And like so, I'm certainly not on the cutting edge of urban dance, but dabs, from what I understand, that's marijuana concentrate. So I'm wondering if the dance, the dab, or doing the dab has anything to do with, you know, the drug culture referring to that somehow. And if so, I wonder if she has any fucking clue.
yeah, what else could it be if not that?
Like the
I don't
only
know
time I've
anything
ever
else
heard,
that a dab refers to.
yeah, a dab is either what your mom does to clean your mouth up when you're 3, or it's drugs.
yeah, they turn pot into like almost like a even drier molasses,
Yeah.
and you smoke that shit. And...
Well, is this part of the dance? Because if not, it's probably about pot.